we just went live.
Hello, world.
We are now famous across the globe.
Yeah, getting there. Well, the weather took a downturn. It was such a beautiful weekend. I actually got, I don't know if you can see this, but I actually got shades of sunburn this weekend, which is a rarity in Wisconsin. So that was nice. But
that farmer's tan.
Yeah, I got a nice farmer's tan. I'm gonna take my shirt off, but I got the nice milky white right here and nice red tan on the arms and on the back of my neck. And now today it is, according to my watch, it is 49 degrees out right now. So we took a nice little dive, and this whole week's supposed to be kind of crappy. So
I know.
But
I was telling you before we went on that I redid the deck. It was like mid 70s both days. So I'm with you. My arms are red. I mean, I'm pale Norwegian skin to start with, so me and the sun don't necessarily get along.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my forehead's a little bit tender, so I like it. But you're right, and I think I even saw that it's supposed to be like 34 or 33, like one of these nights coming up this week.
Yeah, I'm pre-planting for my garden, and I had a whole bunch of pots sitting on a table, and then I was dragging the table out every day as we were still getting that colder weather. And so I'm like, all right, great, I'm at a point now where I can just leave it outside at night. I don't have to drag in and out. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Now I think Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to start dragging it back in at night to keep it warm. So, oh well.
That's what we deal with living in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it could be worse. It could deal with the hurricanes and tornadoes and 110-degree heat that I can't do. So.
Nope, I love it. All right.
All right, so we are in section 8 of the Great at Work book. We are rounding it out. We will have one more session next week, and then we will be done with this book. There is a massive back section to this book, which we won't touch on because it's more of just kind of a background into the test that they did. So the next week's session, we will talk about Great at Home, and we'll just touch on that a little bit. But this is kind of the last big, learning topic session. Nate and I did meet last week about the next book. We will keep that a secret until next week, I think, or do you want to do it today? You want to let the cat out of the bag today?
Well, let's let it out of the bag, because if guys have a chance and they choose to go on and buy it off Amazon, it'll give them a chance to get it if they would like to follow along. That's the best way I like to do it, is follow along through a book. So I think we could let it out of the bag. I actually have it right here, so we could show it.
Yeah, you go ahead and show it. I don't have it, so I got to get it. I'm on that list. I have to get it. I have not read this book, so.
I think that should be. So we're going to be reading a Jim Collins book, another Jim Collins book, Good to Great. Why some companies make the leap and others don't. Great book. I've read it. I haven't read it in a while, so I'm excited to get back into it. So I'm glad that that was the book that Aaron and I came to the consensus on. We hashed through a handful each, and Good to Great was what won out. So I'm excited about that. And I encourage, if you've been a part of this, if you find a nugget here or there, I hope that's what's happening. I highly encourage buying Good to Great. My copies, and this is one that, like I said, I haven't read it in a while. I've got a little green tag in here, and I've got writings in the, alongside the pages and in the pages. I truly believe in that, because it's something that you can always go back to. Be like, I remember that one chapter, just like we're doing here at Great at Work. You can go back in and you can, the work harder convention mindset. You can have notes in there, and you can go back to that and think about what we were talking about or what you read in there. And it just helps us learn, right? I mean, we're not going to remember this stuff, word for word, a year from now, let alone 4 years from now. And I don't know. I like that. So I like having the physical copy. I suggest people have the physical copy. Get it for your team. I don't know, Aaron, your thoughts?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly. I think some of the books that we're going to dive into, I mean, we talked about so many books last week, and I think there's a certain amount of books that you can have in your personal library, and there's a certain amount of books that you can have in your work library. to share. And then I think, this one, Great at Work, and I think Good to Great, from what you've said and from what I've heard from others, is another one to have in that work library. It's one that you're going to share principles from time to time. It's, it's kind of like the old school college textbook that you have to pull out every once in a while. But instead of it being Chemistry 101, it's how to be a better leader or how to be a better business person. So definitely a good habit to get into is to grow your business and your personal library.
100%. Couldn't agree more. So I think we've teased that. Let's dive in and let's finish out the next 2 weeks with Great at Work here.
Yep, and just one more comment to that I want to mention. We talked at the beginning of this book that Morton T. Hansen has collaborated a lot with Jim Collins, and that's kind of why we chose this book, is because we wanted to kind of have a flow and bleed into another principle from an author that has collaborated with this one. As you can see on the cover from the first slide, that Jim Collins actually read and commented on this book. So that's why we did that. So, but we have many, many more books to get through. So this is just the start of it. So today we are going to operate in section 8, which is the 2 sins of collaboration. As you recall from last week, we talked heavily about collaboration, having effective meetings, having effective teamwork, getting on the same page with everybody on the team. This week we're going to talk kind of the opposite, and the sins of too much collaboration, too much talk. So our work harder convention that we are working with this time around, the more collaboration, the better. I think you'll often hear that in the world, particularly in the manufacturing world, that you cannot operate in silos and you have to bust down the silos in order to have effective collaboration, in order to have effective communication. I agree with that statement. Now let me make this very clear that I agree with busting down silos. This author, Morton Hansen, does not. His thoughts, his reasoning is that we should not bust down the silos. Instead, we should cautiously navigate between the silos. So I personally, and I don't know how you feel, Nate, but I believe in busting down the silos. That's my personal opinion.
I agree. It becomes everything's open to everybody, and from that, you get the outside looking in opinion or feedback, right? I think fresh eyes in different areas is helpful, but I think we're going to talk about some of the downsides to that as well. I think that that open collaboration is huge, but I think we're going to dig into some of the the caveat to that as well. So I agree. I like silos down, but carefully.
Yes, I agree. And that's, kind of what's leading into in this book is on the next slide here, you see all the people standing by the water cooler. It's preventing the water cooler talk, preventing the gossip sessions or the bitch sessions, if you will. I'm sure we've all experienced them, where you have collaborated and now that collaboration, that team has now formed a faction and now they're getting less work done. They tend to be more gossipy. So you see certain things like that, certain indicators. And as a manager, as a leader of a company, we have to look out for those kinds of activities. So our Work Smarter convention, over collaboration is as bad as under collaboration. Busting silos is not the answer. Again, that's Morton's way of saying this. Busting silos is not the answer. Disciplined collaboration helps you collaborate effectively and perform well. Now, I agree with the statement. I just don't agree with the approach here. You do have to, I think, collaborate effectively. And that's very, very important. But I think that we do have to bust those silos down. And we shouldn't just walk around them tender-footedly. If that's a word. So how do we get this done? I think, first and foremost, you have to find that balance. You have to really find a good balance here on the next slide. You ask yourself, do you need to collaborate? Is this a project that you need to collaborate on? Is this something that you need to get an outside opinion on? That's the first question that you got to ask yourself is, sometimes I think maybe we get a little bit too gun shy. Maybe we want to just have a conversation with somebody, so we feel a need to automatically want to collaborate. It may be our first instinct. Maybe we don't want to be the person who makes the final call on this. We want to have a collective team answer. And that's fine if you do, but don't do that every single time. Every once in a while, you got to put your big boy pants on and make your own decision, and you don't need to collaborate. So that's where we kind of say, that's where the over collaboration is not necessary. Flip side, you shouldn't always have to make the decision. There are certain instances where you should collaborate. So there is no set guide, there is no set intensity level for the question or the project that where you should collaborate or where you should not collaborate. That comes from personal experience. It comes from personal failures. It comes from personal successes. So you have to find that area where you feel the best about collaborating and about not collaborating. So you have to find that. I don't, personally for me, I tend to work better alone, so I will tend to probably not want to collaborate as much as the next guy. But that's my personal tickings. That's just how I operate. This morning, I gave a second Monday morning motivation talk about micromanagement, and that was a big thing that I had to knock down as a leader myself. I was a very bad micromanager. But it was because I did things on my own for so long, and I was just so comfortable with the way I did things. So, like I said, that's just me. So I have a hard time collaborating, but it's something that I know I need to work on. So I work on it all the time. Collaboration is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm a 50-50. I like collaboration, but once I need to go out and get the stuff done, right? Like, so I'm not. I don't want to be in the group the whole time and, share, the responsibility of getting it done all the time. It just, let's go out, let's get the ideas, let's collaborate on how we're going to accomplish it, and then I'm going to go out and do my task. And then I want that separation. I think I'm around 50-50 inside of that.
Sure. And that's you got two guys right now that are talking, and they're both two different people, and you'll find that, and that kind of bleeds into the next question: is who should collaborate? You don't necessarily always want to get those team players, those guys that are going to be the yes men, those guys that are going to be on your side, on your team, and tell you everything that you want to hear. You want to get those people like me who have a hard time collaborating because we need to grow, get better as people, but we also have ideas that we need to bring out. So you have to be very careful on who you pick to collaborate with. You shouldn't just pick your team that you're used to. Pick that right effective team. Get that broad spectrum from those outside eyes, those different silos. Pull them across silos to help you out with your collaboration of your project or your question, whatever you're working on.
Yep, I agree.
So next slide here, we're going to talk about discipline and collaboration. And this is kind of the bulk of the whole entire chapter, is they talk about these different aspects, these different traits. First, find a compelling reason to collaborate. If it's questionable, just say no. And that kind of goes along those same lines of the importance of the collaboration. When do you say that you need to collaborate? When do you not say? There is a distinct difference, and you have to be able to find that. And like I said, there is no scale. There's absolutely no scale. It's all personal preference. It's all personal feelings and personal wins and personal losses. So you have to find that reason to collaborate.
Yeah.
You have to craft. Oops, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it comes to that. I always feel that this is that paralysis by analysis kind of statement that. What can happen in collaboration, if not careful, is a whole lot of ideas without any action items to go forth. That it's and that's where I think that the statement of do you collaborate or don't you collaborate, there's just certain decisions that you don't need to analyze that broadly to make the decision. And that's where I have the hard time with collaboration, is when it gets to 4 hours of conversation about different ways to do it, but nobody's come to a consensus on just how to go out and start an actual action item. That's always my concern.
You live in that world where they say beating a dead horse. You just keep circling around the issue and not actually getting anything done. Yep. I've been on meetings like that. They're frustrating. They're very frustrating because you feel like you've wasted a good amount of your time could have spent it doing other things, and you're still left in the same spot. If not, you backpedaled a little bit. So very frustrating. Next one, and I think this is important because it talks about the same thing that we just talked about. You need to craft a goal that unifies people. So whatever, you start your meetings, you start your collaborations, your goal should unify those people. Whoever's in that, they should understand what the end game is, they should understand how to get there, and they should understand the goal that is going to be attained for getting there. Again, effective meetings, having effective conversations, effective talks, this is all in that same realm. Craft a goal that unifies people, does not put one person in front of another, doesn't throw somebody under the bus. Obviously you're meeting for a reason, and it should be for the betterment of the company and those that are within it. So make sure that you're crafting a good goal. Next one is huge. This one is big. Reward people for effective collaboration results, and I should have underlined results, not activity. So often do we reward people on activity and not results, and that is a completely wrong way of thinking. You can get a whole group of people in a room and they can talk for 8-10 hours and walk out with absolutely nothing done. You need to reward based on those results. It's not about the length of the meeting or the frequency of the meeting. It is about what comes of the meeting, the results of the meeting. So that's very, very important.
Yeah, activity is important. I agree 100%. Specifically in these meetings, outside in my salesman's shoes, the word activity falls into some different areas, and I'm a big person on activity. But you're 100% right that the result of that activity is what's important. You need to do the activity, but you need to achieve a result every time you do the activity. And so I agree. I just I just wanted to reword it so I felt comfortable.
No, I hear you loud and clear. I understand totally what you're saying. I use the analogy of, you walk into a room of, that's not really an analogy, it's more of an envisionment that, you walk into a room and here's, 3 whiteboards that are all full of marked up print, and you got a whole entire room full of people that look incredibly frustrated, and the boards are full, but the minds are completely drained and empty, and there's no result. Yeah. And I've been in meetings like that. I know how that feels, and it's frustrating. So sometimes that happens. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, sometimes it does happen. Sometimes you just can't find the answer. But I think you have to try, and you have to learn, and you have to adapt. You have to just keep changing it up until you do find that answer.
Yep.
Next one, if you're going to collaborate, make sure that you can allocate your full resources, being time, skills, and the money, to these collaborations. If you cannot commit your full resources, particularly I think your time and your skills, if you can't dedicate your full attention, your full amount of resources, then it will not be an effective collaboration. It will not work. You have to have that full commitment of all of your resources. Otherwise, it'll fail.
I agree. I think too often we want to try to achieve things by, we are all careful and cautious about investments, whether it's money or time or the personnel, which is the skills, right? But if you're going to go out and put together where you need to come up with a decision that you actually need to collaborate. You need to put the team together. That's obviously a big enough decision. If you've made the choice to collaborate on it, that's a big enough decision that you need to invest those items. It's just a non-starter. If you're not willing to spend the time or the money or get the skill levels together, then is it really a decision that you want to collaborate on? I think that's kind of a telltale sign, right? I mean, should I collaborate or should I not? If you're not willing to invest in it because it's not that important of a decision or whatever, then you shouldn't be collaborating, right?
Right. I think you're 100% right. Sorry, I'm just checking something here.
You're good.
Didn't mean to be distracted. I apologize. Yeah, and I for like money is kind of the hard one. I think when you look at the money, and I think by money we mean make sure that you can allocate funds for what you need. If you need to bring in like a specialist, or you need to do it in a special setting, make sure that you're allocating that funding properly. And if you can't allocate, don't be afraid to shave back, scale it back. If you say to yourself, hey, it's just not in the cards, scale your goal back and, pick off maybe half of it. Sometimes those goals they can be broken up. You don't have to bite off the whole entire apple just, in one bite. You can take little bits and bites of it if you can't allocate at that time. So.
Yep.
Sorry, we have a glue shortage at our house, so I'm trying to solve a glue shortage.
I love it. That's the beauty of this, right? I mean, we're all, I know that I've got my kids are running past the door, and I look every once in a while, and it's just, I love this because it's so human, right? At the end of the day, we're all living the same life and dealing with all the same fun stuff that we try to hide. Like, no, my kids aren't, running the house. It is what it is. They're home from school and we're quarantined. I mean, that I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So I apologize to those guys that are listening in, but yeah, it's working from home has its own little snafus to it.
Quirks. Yeah.
But the last one, we need to tailor those trust boosters. And this is kind of confusing if you look at it, 3 words, tailor trust boosters. But what that means is you have to look at the group, the collaboration event, and you have to apply certain techniques to your meetings, to your collaborations in order to make them effective. Take, for instance, if you have a level of distrust amongst the group, maybe it's a group of new people that are on the production floor, or maybe you're collaborating with a landscape group as well as some contractors. So you have a lot of, distrust up front because they're strangers. They don't know each other. They're just very uncomfortable about maybe bringing things to the table because they don't know their value. Well, do team exercises up front to try to help mend that bond, try to help grow. Ask personal questions. That there is kind of a taboo. But I think sometimes when you understand where people are on a personal level, it helps break down those barriers. I'm not saying, ask them how many times they go to the bathroom in a day. That's not a very good question. But, ask them certain questions like, how many kids do you have? What do you like to do outside of work? Stuff like that. That's a personal question. But 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to answer just because it's a simple question. How many kids do you have? Well, I have 3 kids. I like playing golf outside that. Those are simple questions that just help create that warm and fuzziness. So that's what we mean is make sure that you tailor your tactics in those meetings, in those collaborations to gain trust. You have to be able to read that as a person. Is there people that are not comfortable? Is there people that maybe have ill intentions? I hope that's not the case, but I'm sure we've been in meetings before where somebody has ill intentions. They want to try to push their product, or they want to try to sway the conversation one way. Those are levels of distrust, that are very apparent in collaborations. And you as a leader, as a manager, have to be able to identify those and mitigate them with these trust boosters. That's very important.
Yeah, I've got an example of this that years ago in one of my prior lives, I was working for a manufacturer that we would do in the late fall, kind of winterish time. We'd bring in contractors. We'd bring them into the office, and we'd have these collaboration sessions on just new product ideas. What's that we have out there? What do you like, and what are you using? What are we missing to go along with it? What don't we have? Whatever. But we would have these sit downs where we bring them into the conference room, and we'd have, like breakfast made, donuts or sandwiches or whatever. And there's a couple of things working against you there, right? there's a trust deal that you have to work through on the fact that there's multiple contractors in the same room, right? That aren't all from the same company.
Yeah.
And those guys already have that concern of, I know this secret thing that you don't know and whatever. So you got to get past that they can openly talk about, their season or the work that they're doing and the projects and what products would help, each one of them. Because you want their ideas combined. And then it's the, you got to also have the, you got to have that trust that as the manufacturer, I know at the end of the day, no matter how hard I try as a producer, as a manufacturer, we're all human. So height tolerances are going to be off at times. You're going to have that. You're going to have the complaints. The wall material, the corner units didn't match the field units. And I can tell you that prior to that meeting, there was a lot of thought put in of what would I do to get away from having the conversation just drift to, QC issues in the past year. Because that's not what I want to talk about. We can talk about that. That wasn't the setting. Because I want to talk about what can we do in the the new year coming up and future years, right? And so how to try and tailor that conversation to get away from that or utilize that into what can be beneficial rather than it just being that water cooler complaint session. I wanted to go into that example because sometimes I know as we've been doing these conversations every Monday, a lot of times I've been focused on what we do internally in the company, which is key. But this collaboration concept can also be done with your contractors or with your dealers or whoever you're purchasing, the people that are buying from you. Bring them in, but you gotta use these same thoughts on an investment of time and resources and money and skill. Who's coming in, and how do you bring them in and make it feel comfortable?
Yeah, I think from a manufacturing side, I used to really admire manufacturing plants that would try to connect the end user with the person that was producing the product. And I'm, not just in wall products or pavers or slabs or anything, but, on the precast world, when you can connect that guy that's actually, say it's a manhole and the hole on the manhole was floated or something, so it's like 4 inches higher than what it needs to be. And the guys on site, they just are having a heck of a time trying to get their pipe pitched right, try to get it into the manhole. And they're calling you as on the sales side, telling you that, it's just, it's causing big heartache. And to have the collaboration where that person meets the person who actually made it and understood that, maybe they don't have the tools that they need to do the right job, or, they're trying to make something work that's outdated, or, maybe they just screwed up. But that collaboration, I think, is good, effective collaboration. You have to watch it very cautiously because it can get very one-sided. The guy that is installing the manhole or installing the product could very easily, like you said, steer it towards, let's talk about QC issues. And then also on the other side, the producer could turn it into, let's talk about personal issues that I'm having. Like, I don't have all the tools that I need, stuff like that. They can really one side, hijack that meeting, same as the other side could really hijack it. So tailoring the conversation to be a very effective conversation where both parties can learn where each side is coming from. Very important, but you really have to manage that very well. It can be done, but you just got to manage it. That's all. But I always admired guys that actually took the time to do that. I think it's a great collaboration effort.
Yeah, it can be really effective for your business.
It can. Yes, it can. So that's all we got on this topic. I don't have much more. It's kind of a short one, but do you got anything else on this one you want to talk about?
No, it's like you said. It's a couple of bullet points. It's a very specific, very concise, I guess, section, right? Like we're building up, right? We've built up from the different mindsets, work harder, and all that, and now we're going from the good sides of the collaboration to watching for those pitfalls. There's not a lot to it, right? I don't want to oversimplify it. It's not rocket science. We
No.
have to think through the process, right? You got to. It's just not something you can throw together, right? And it's something that these are processes, and you've got to just take a minute, sketch them out in your mind, right? And understand how do you want it to work, when is it going to be effective, and then implement it that way. I guess plan your work your plan kind of statement. When it comes to do I collaborate and who's going to be involved and how do I control it? So
Yeah.
But no, that's all I've
Well,
got
next week.
Yep.
Okay. Next week is going to be an interesting one because we're going to be talking about mastering your work and your life, your personal life and your work life. Finding that balance. I don't think there's going to be as many, slides or anything. I think it's going to be just a lot of gumshoe talking. I know I have a lot to say just because of the different hats that I've worn. I'm sure you as well understand how difficult it is to find balance between work life and home life. It is an extremely difficult aspect in life. If you don't work a common job, or if you have, like me, I have such a difficulty unplugging. It's very hard for me to unplug. So, but that also causes stress on the home life. So, I have what we'll talk about, I think, is a principle that I've learned in one of my leadership courses from Matthew McConaughey, actually. So we'll talk about that. I think it's a great way. It's really helped me out a ton since I've learned that technique. But we'll talk about that and many other things. So it's going to be a good session next week. I have good feelings about that.
I'm excited because for those that may not know, you and I were both business owners. We both we're not just, we were our own employee, right? We ran the business, we managed people. It's our name on the shirt kind of thing. So now we both sit in a little bit of a different seat as well. So we've got that experience from both sides of that spectrum, which I think is huge, and there comes a lot of stories with all of that.
Yeah. Plenty of stories, so that's why I look forward to it. But that's also why I look forward to doing these things, because I hope that, like you said, if you can find a nugget, then it was worth it. Then it was worth your time to tune in. It was worth our time to sit up here and speak. But for me, I think sharing experiences is probably one of the most valuable tools that gets overlooked so much in life. And if you can take the time to share just one tidbit, one story, one experience that helps somebody else, then you have fulfilled your day. You have fulfilled what you need to do and helped out and helped grow. And that's what life's all about, man. For me, that's why I keep doing this. So I think, like, next week, I think there's going to be a ton to be said. So that's why I'm looking forward to it. So I hope to spread a bunch of nuggets next week.
Well, and I love this. Like, again, a little insight into Aaron and I, for those that are on that may not know. I mean, we both we're a few years apart, but we live in the same town. We grew up in the same town. But we knew each other, but we didn't know each other, right? I mean, I knew of you, but I didn't, we didn't hang out necessarily. We didn't know each other. We didn't have necessarily the same friends, same circle at least.
Right.
And it's crazy because now we both work at the same company, but yet I'm learning more about Aaron via these conversations that, he's out, playing around in his pasture, doing things that I used to do. And my grandpa had the farm, having to clean the manure and all that happy, fun stuff. But just the little tidbits that we have, the little nuggets we have when we talk before we go live, because some of that doesn't need to be shared. But I kind of hope that this encourages people that are in on this, that may be sitting next to a guy that they work with as they're listening to this, to just communicate with each other, just share rapport, right? You made the comment earlier, is to have that, talk about the family or bring something up personal. It's rapport building. And it's not a trick. It's nothing more than just being a good human, wanting to know about another human.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No.
Anyway.
We oftentimes forget that we're human. Oftentimes we forget that we're human, and it's a shame. It's an absolute shame.
Yep. So with that little nugget, I think we can call it. We can stick a fork in it.
Yeah, it's good session.
So perfect. So we're gonna finish up last section. What's the title of the section? I'm sorry, for next week.
Let's see. I believe it's just called Section 3, Part 3, Mastering Your Work/Life. So finding the balance between the two. Perfect. Great at work and at life too. That's kind of the talk. So it's a short chapter, but I think there's a lot to be said. Not only in the chapter, but like we said, kind of between the two of us. I think there's going to be a lot to be said.
Yep. Awesome. Then same bat channel, same bat time. So we'll next Monday 11:30. We'll see everybody, and then that'll finish up Great at Work. And then since we like the word great, we're going to move into good to great. So,
yep.
Awesome. Aaron, you have a great rest of your day. Everybody that's out there listening, thank you for tuning in. And we will see you next Monday.
Sounds good. Have a good week, guys. We'll see you.